Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Community Focus. I am your host, Ariana de Valdivia, and this is a program that brings all the important information that's relevant to you and your community. While you and I have the privilege of enjoying this program today, I'd like to point out the fact that there are more than 114,000 men, women, and children who currently await a life-saving organ transplant, and countless others who are in need of life-saving or life-enhancing tissue donation. And while you might have asked yourself in the past whether or not you'd be willing to donate your organs or tissue, I encourage you to consider today what it would be like if you, your loved one, your spouse, your child, your parent was in need of a life-saving organ or tissue donation. To help us better understand that today, we have the pleasure of welcoming Andy Benavides and Nancy Rodriguez on the program. Andy and Nancy, welcome and thank you so much for being here today. Andy, let's start with you. I know that you recently celebrated a transplant anniversary, so we want to talk about all that. Paint a picture for our viewers. What is that experience like, realizing that you're needing a transplant and kind of the process?
The whole experience itself, it's very, you get shocked when somebody tells you at 25 years old that your heart is basically dying, that there's no other hope for you, that the only way that you will survive is, at one point I had a mechanical heart pump, and here I have this doctor telling me that if I don't get this heart pump, I'm not gonna survive for more than 6 months. And having that heart pump start failing after a year, and them telling you that you need to get a transplant, we need to get this heart or you won't survive.
Tell me a little bit about what life was like at 25 years of age, and what particular incident, like what visual comes to mind when that moment hits you that, oh my God, I need a new heart?
Man, it's like you're living life, going out with your friends, going to parties, spending time with your family, being able to just basically walk. Just walking a few steps was a chore, something that people take for granted every day. You wouldn't think that walking is like something major, but at 25 years old and you're dying and your heart is preventing you just from taking a few steps without going out of breath, without vomiting, and just normal stuff that you don't ever think about, it's hard.
You mentioned the being on a battery-operated heart pump. Please depict what that is like, because I know most folks don't realize all that requires for you to be on that.
It was called an LVAD, a left ventricle assist device. Basically, it's surgically implanted into you. It requires electricity. In order to be wireless, you have to put batteries into the cases, or at night to sleep, you would have to plug yourself into the wall for that mechanical heart pump to continue functioning while you're sleeping.
So aside from the stuff that's implanted in your heart, there was like a box or something you had to carry physically on you at all times?
Yeah, it's a case, and it looks like 2 pistols that you would have on each side of you because it's 2 batteries. And then even taking a shower, it's a chore because you have to put that case into a waterproof bag because it's electricity. Water and electricity don't mix.
And so if you're walking around and you're running low on electricity, you better find a place to plug in or get some batteries ASAP.
Yeah, I would have to carry batteries with me everywhere I went.
Something that most typical 25-year-old guys don't have to go
Would
through.
never think about what it's like, a day-to-day chore just to carry those batteries. And we're talking about 5 to 8 pound batteries each, plus the controller. So it's a chore, but you have to do what you have to do to survive.
What is it like being on the transplant waiting list, and how long were you on the list?
Being on the list, at first it was hard because I was overweight. When they tell you that you have to lose weight before you get on the list, it's something that I didn't even have to think twice about it. I did what I had to do to get on that list. Once I got on that list, it's like, okay, now I'm on that list and I have to make sure I maintain my weight because I want a healthy heart, obviously. And the waiting period, I waited about 1.5 years, which wasn't long. It went by pretty quick compared to what other people I hear that wait years for that organ, or just wait and never get it. So 1.5 years was the total time frame that I waited.
Andy, was your condition hereditary?
No.
Okay.
It wasn't. They call it a cardiomyopathy. Basically, I'm the first one in my family to ever have heart problems. Nobody else in my family has ever had heart problems. I'm the first one.
Wow. And so talk to us about the day that you heard the news that you were going to receive a heart.
Wow. July 4th, 6:30 at night. I'm sitting in the hospital because at that point I was living in the hospital. I had already been there for 2.5 months because they put me on 1A status, meaning that if I didn't get this organ, it was life or death. So in order for me to be 1A status, I had to live in the hospital and I became a resident at the hospital. And I remember it like it was yesterday. The doctor came in and she's like, I have great news for you. And I'm sitting here watching my novelas because that's what all I did. And she tells me, we have a heart. And I look at her and I'm like, stop playing this. That's not even funny. And she's like, no, seriously, we have your heart. And I look at her, I'm like, you're serious. You're telling me that you've done everything to check to make sure that this heart is compatible with me, because I don't want to get in there and wake up and not have a new heart in me. She's like, no, we have a heart for you. We are going to start prepping you for surgery. That moment, I just felt like the tears just started coming out. At that moment, my aunt and uncle walk in the room and my cousins, and they're like, what's wrong? I couldn't even talk. I couldn't say anything. And the doctor told them, and all of a sudden we're all sitting there crying. It's like your life changes before your eyes in a split second. The best news that I ever gotten in my life. And I can tell you, it was 6:30 at night on July 4th, 2008. Remember that date like it was yesterday.
And it was almost yesterday because July 4th happened not too long ago, and you
Right.
celebrated your transplant anniversary.
Yeah.
Andy, I know, because you and I know each other fairly well, in the past you've shared with me some of the conflicting feelings that transplant patients also have because of the knowledge, just knowing that in order for you to have received that life gift, that somebody else made a selfless act of donating their loved one's organs.
A lot of people, I tell this to anybody that I've met. I've even mentioned it to Nancy before when I first met her. It's a hard situation because you would think that I'm still here. I'm very grateful for my life. I'm very grateful that I had the second chance of life. But I still know that somewhere there's a family that while I'm celebrating my life, they're still grieving of the loss of their loved one. And inside, I can't help but to cry because it's it's like a catch-20, I guess you could say, because I am happy. I am very grateful. But until I know that this family is okay and they've not moved on, but they're doing a lot better than they were 4 years ago, I can't totally celebrate because I still grieve because of their loss. Because of their loss, I'm still here. And to know that they were gracious enough to give me this chance of life until I'm able to say thank you to them and know that they're okay and they've accepted it, I can't completely celebrate.
So I know you're in the process of trying to connect with your donor family.
Mm-hmm.
When you do reunite with them, we want to do it here on the program. Thank you for sharing that testimonial, and you'll share more information with us in a little bit. But now what I want to do is talk to Nancy because, like I said, donation is a two-sided story, and you committed a selfless act by donating the tissues of your precious baby angel Fergie. Nancy, tell us about Fergie.
Well, Fergie, she was an angel, just as you said. She was truly an angel. We just never saw the signs that she was an angel, that she was only going to be here for a short period of time. She was a very fun little girl.
How old was
Beautiful. She was 15 months. She was 15 months, and she was always filled with energy and always willing to go, go, go. And we did so much with her. It was just unbelievable. Now that us as family, we sit down and we talk, we're like, gosh, it's like we really did a lot with her. She had a wonderful first birthday party. To me, it was like the perfect birthday party. She had a great time. She acted just like an adult, greeting all her little friends with a hug and a kiss. And it was just amazing, when my friends, they tell me, I was like, wow, she's only one, but she acts so mature. And I said, I know. I said, I I guess she must get it from me. Yes, but she was a very fun, loving person. And even though she's not here anymore physically, she's still here because of the decision that my husband and I made the day of.
Tell us more about that day.
That day, that that was September the 29th. On September the 28th, my aunt, who would graciously take care of her, told me, she says, you know what, Nancy, she was like, we need to get her a toddler bed. She was like, because when she takes her naps, she really doesn't fit in her playpen anymore. And I said, that's fine. So we went and we got her a toddler bed, and my husband and my uncle put it together in her room at my aunt's house, because she had her room. And we got her spreadsheets and everything, you know. And that Thursday morning, she woke up as usual, you know, and I always played with her, you know, and we always gave grace to God, you know, for another day of being here. And I took her to my aunt's house, you know, and she was on her bed and she was jumping just as happy could be. Oh my goodness, and I was like, Fernanda, because her name is Fernanda Valentina. I said, Fernanda, don't you fall off that bed, mijita. Please don't fall off the bed, you know. And it's like, okay. So I left to work, and at 9:30 in the morning, my uncle calls. And we were kind of playing phone tag, because he was calling 911 and people were calling him, and I was trying to get in touch with him, and I called my aunt, I called my cousins, no one would pick up, until finally he picked up. And and I said, hey Danny, I said, what happened? And he says, Mija, he was like, you need to come home. And I said, what happened? He was like, I ran over Fergie. I said, what? My first thought was an arm or a leg, we'll get her a cast. It's okay. Still thinking that she was okay.
Right.
You know, and he says, you need to come home. He says, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. When he started saying I'm sorry many times, I said, oh my goodness. I said, what happened? So I hanged up the phone and I ran out of work. And I ran out of work without my purse or anything. And I'm thinking, where am I going without a purse? You know, it's like I can't get into my car. So I was screaming at work, and my coworkers, you know, one of her, she took me to my aunt's house, and when I got there, they had just put her at the helicopter. His life flight came, and I could see her feet, and I went, and they life flighted her to the hospital, and she just didn't make it. We get to the hospital, and my mom was already there with her whole training crew, because she was doing a training at her job, and she got the call and she couldn't drive, so they canceled the whole training, and the entire staff that was there, which was like 30 or 40 people, they all went to the hospital. They were all there, and my husband, poor thing, he works kind of far from where the hospital is, and he just could not know where he was at. And he said that, you know, when I called him and I told him, I said, hey, I said, they're life flighting Fergie, you know. I said, you need to get here fast. And he's like, I'm coming. And he says that he just went blank, and he couldn't figure out where he was. He was like, I didn't know which freeway I was on. I didn't know where I was going. He says, I did see the life flight helicopter. He was like, and I said, oh God, you know, please, you know, guide me to where it is. And sure enough, you know, he followed as far as he could, you know, the helicopter, and he got there, and by the time he got there, they already had told us, you know, that Fergie had not made it.
I'm sorry about what happened. And I know that the story doesn't end there. In your most precious and delicate time of grief, you and your husband made a very heroic decision. Tell us about that, and what compelled you to do that?
Well, my husband's English is very limited. So this whole time, you know, that we're there with the chaplain and the doctors, I'm having to translate everything for him. And they let us be there with Fergie, you know, for like an hour and a half until they had to take her away. So we go back to the family room, and my priest is there, and people from our church communities there, everybody's there, and we had like 100 people plus in the community room, in the little waiting room. A lady from Life Gift I think her name is Linda. She came and she said the parents are Fernanda Valentina Rodriguez. You know, when my husband and I, we both looked up, and I could just picture it. I was sitting right here, my husband was right here, and my priest was right there, right in front of us. And she said, she was like, I'm from Life Gift. She was like, I just wanted to let you guys know that Fernanda is a candidate for tissue donation. Do you guys want to donate her tissue? I didn't even have to turn around and tell my husband, you know, this is what she's saying. He said yes.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, you know, and me, it took me just a couple of seconds to realize, you know, that I can make the decision to keep her living through other people, enhancing other lives, or I can just cut it off right there. And I looked at my priest and I looked at my husband, and they both nodded their head, and I said yes.
Wow. Wow. And so for those who don't understand, for those who are at home and who don't understand, there's so many different ways in which tissues can enhance the lives of other people. You know, skin for burn victims, or corneas to help restore sight for the blind. You know, veins and arteries for all kinds of different surgeries. And so typically when we think about donation, we associate organ donation only, but it's very important to also know all the gifts of donation. And we are going to put a graphic on the screen that shows all of the gifts of donation so that our viewers can see that. But quickly before we wrap up, I do want to point out the fact that we are approaching Minority Donor Awareness Season, which is a time of reflection on those issues. And I know that there are certain misconceptions that exist out there, especially among the minority groups. And I want to discuss some of those just fairly quickly. First of all, traditionally, most folks have thought that the way to register for organ and tissue donation is at the driver's license. Is that still the way that you do that?
Yes.
And what are the new options that are available? Because I know that has kind of revolutionized in the past several years.
You can also do it online. Mm-hmm. Print the form online. You can fax it. The DMV.
And the DMV as well.
Okay. You mentioned Life Gift earlier. And Life Gift is the local nonprofit organization that does just that, procures organs and tissue donations to provide life-saving transplants. And Life Gift is a great organization that's made a huge impact, not only in Houston, but in other parts of Texas for 25 years now. They're celebrating their 25th year. And one of the biggest milestones, in my opinion, was their advocacy and the work that they did to revolutionize the donor registry, which essentially now creates legal consent for someone to register as an organ and tissue donor and not have to go through that painstaking decision of having to make the decision for your loved one. Nancy and Andy, thank you so much for being here today. I hope that through our conversation we have educated enough folks and empower them with the knowledge, with the tools to know that they have the power to donate life. And for more information, that is available at donatelifetexas.org, lifegift.org, or by calling 713-523-GIFT. And that information is also going to be appearing on our screen. Again, thank you for watching Community Focus. I hope that you feel more empowered with the knowledge that we shared with you today, and I'll see you on another episode soon.